All right, let me walk you through the craziest day I've experienced since settling into my new lakeside neighborhood. When you buy a home with a private dock, you expect a little calm and quiet, right? That's what I thought too. Wrong. My official welcome to the neighborhood came in the form of meeting the self-declared queen of everything nautical, the so-called admiral of the Homeowners Association. And let's just say she chose the absolute wrong boat to mess with. So, I had just taken delivery of a brand new pontoon boat. Nothing huge, but it meant everything to me, my pride and my escape after exhausting weeks of work. I actually work for the Coast Guard, though most people around here don't know that. I prefer keeping my professional life separate from where I live. Anyway, I spent an entire weekend getting everything ready, engine tuned, supplies checked, fully stocked and prepped for its first real trip. Life jackets, flares, first aid kit, everything you'd expect. Safety was a priority. Always. The next Saturday morning, I wake up, brew my coffee, and look out over the lake, excited for a peaceful day on the water. But something feels off. The dock is empty. My boat is gone. My stomach just drops. For a moment, I think maybe it drifted loose. But then I see it. The ropes are gone too. This was an accident. It was taken. I'm about to call the police when I hear laughter and loud music echoing across the lake. I grab my binoculars, and there it is, my boat completely packed with people. At the helm, wearing an oversized captain's hat, is Karen. I had met her once before. She introduced herself as the head of the HOA and immediately handed me a long list of violations, like my trash cans being visible for too long from the street. Now she's joyriding in my boat with a group of friends, all of them raising wine glasses and cheering. From my dock, I can see them clearly, cruising around like they own everything. The anger I felt was hard to even describe. My first instinct was to jump in my car, head to the public launch, and confront her directly. But then a better idea, one that felt a lot more satisfying, popped into my head. Being Coast Guard has its advantages, especially knowing exactly who to call. I quickly contacted the local sheriff's marine unit, explained the situation, and gave them my boat registration details. Then I made another call, this one to my own unit. I wasn't officially on duty, but I made it clear a vessel had been taken and was being operated recklessly by someone with no real experience. I also mentioned I was the owner and a service member. Let's just say that got their attention fast. I sat back on my porch with my coffee and binoculars, just watching and waiting. It didn't take long. Around 20 minutes later, two boats came racing across the lake from different directions. One sheriff's patrol boat and one familiar orange and white Coast Guard response vessel, my boat. That's when I knew this was about to get interesting. Through my binoculars, I watched everything unfold like a scene from a movie. The patrol boats boxed to my pontoon, lights flashing, and the music cut off instantly. I could see Karen waving her arms wildly, probably trying to explain who she was, the president of the HOA, as if that meant anything out on the water. Her friends looked completely panicked. A voice came over the loudspeaker, ordering them to shut the engine down immediately. I watched as one of my colleagues, let's call him Dave, stepped onto my boat from the Coast Guard vessel. He's known for being extremely strict about rules and procedure. He was known for being strict about rules, which was perfect for the situation. I watched as he started going through the standard boarding procedure. He was checking registration, PFDs, personal flotation devices, and running a full safety inspection. That's when I decided it was time for my entrance. I got in my car and headed down to the dock where they were bringing my boat in. By the time I arrived, Karen and her friends were already being escorted off my boat and onto the dock. She looked furious, completely unrepentant. As soon as she saw me, her expression changed. "There you are," she shouted, pointing straight at me. "Tell these incompetent officers who I am. Your boat was just sitting there, and my friends and I wanted a tour of the lake. It's a community asset. You should be happy to share it." I just stared at her, then glanced at Dave, who was clearly struggling not to laugh. I gave him a small nod. "Ma'am," Dave said in his most official tone, "this is a privately owned vessel. You are not authorized to use it. Additionally, you operated it without a safety briefing, and there are multiple open containers on board. That's another issue. Karen snapped. Don't be ridiculous. I'm the HOA president. Who are you to tell me what I can and can't do on my lake? That's when I stepped forward. I stood right beside Dave and said, "He's my co-worker, Karen." I then patted the side of my boat. And this is my boat, not a community asset. Mine. The look on her face was priceless. Pure confusion, shock, and disbelief all at once. Her jaw literally dropped. She looked between me and my casual clothes and Dave in full Coast Guard uniform, trying to process what she was seeing. You're with them?" she stammered, pointing toward the Coast Guard vessel. "Yep," I said calmly. "And you just committed grand theft vessel, along with operating without permission, without a license, and while serving alcohol on board." I gestured toward the sheriff's deputies nearby. "The sheriff's department would like to speak with you about the theft, and my unit will be filing a report on the maritime violations. That's going to be a very expensive list of fines." Karen's face went pale. Her friends immediately started backing away from her, muttering excuses like, "We thought she had permission," and "I didn't even want to come." A deputy stepped forward and began questioning her. It turned out she had used bolt cutters from her garage to break the lock on my dock gate, then simply untied my boat and took it. The aftermath was brutal. Karen was charged with theft and multiple misdemeanors. She ended up paying thousands in fines to both the state and the Coast Guard. The HOA held an emergency meeting and removed her as president within the week. I later heard she had to sell her house just to cover legal fees. As for me, I got my boat back, slightly messy but undamaged. I spent the next day cleaning up wine spills and glitter, but honestly, it was worth it. Now, every time I take it out on the lake, it's peaceful. The water is calm, the neighborhood is quiet, and there is an entitled HOA Karen in sight. And you can bet I invested in a much bigger lock. Some lessons only need to be learned once. Thanks for listening to my story, and if you enjoyed it, make sure to hit subscribe for more. See you next time.